Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play BS Legend of Zelda Ancient Stone Tablets. The last part we started off week 1 and now we're going to continue on and get our second tablet. Which if you check the map actually is just north of us near Zora Falls in A Link to the Past. But first, this is the rental shop. The rental shop's a bit of an interesting thing. It's in all 4 weeks. And you can only ever get 2 things in it. One of them changes, the other doesn't. The first is the shovel. You rent the shovel for 10 minutes and you can do stuff with it. The second one is whatever sword level you are at plus 1. So right now I can only get the level 2 sword. And if you're going for boss fights, that's actually rather useful, but I'm not going to just because I have better things to do, honestly. And then there's this little staircase near Zora Falls, which, if I recall, all that's down there is just a fairy fountain. But we do want to head up towards Zora Falls itself, which has seen a major reduction from the original Link to the Past, because now it's just this very thin area, and now it's raining. During rain, you only fight Zoras. Kind of annoying. Well, what do you want from me? I want the flippers. Is that so? But it's not as simple as that. They're yours if you give me 300 rupees. How do you do? 300's not too bad. I'll give you these special flippers then, blah, blah, blah. We can now swim. Potentially what you could have done if you're playing along, in fact, I probably should have said this first, is that you can wait another 2 minutes to the 25th minute in the clock, and the cost will be deducted to 150 due to some sort of weird special deal. I think he's like feeling generous or something. Either way, useful. The rain also has another effect. It diffuses any bombs you place upon exploding, so can't really do anything in the overworld right now. Either way, welcome to Dungeon 2, which is, I guess, the water dungeon? Something I like about this game, but also kind of don't, is that the dungeons don't really have much of a theme to them. At most, what you have for each dungeon is a borrowed tile set. Like this, I believe, was lifted right out of the Swamp Palace in A Link to the Past. But beyond that, it's honestly kind of similar to, honestly, what it basically is, a ROM hack. Remixing dungeon layouts and doing otherwise. Though speaking of ROM hacks, there's one particular Zelda ROM hack out there that most people have heard of for A Link to the Past called Parallel Worlds. Basically, imagine Link to the Past uber hard mode. And I've considered actually taking a look at that at some point, but why I'm bringing this up in particular is that the creator of that just released another ROM hack. I think it's like Conker's Hyrule Tale. Either way, it's basically a Zelda ROM hack that's made up like a Conker's Bad Fur Day game, full of referential humor and such. I played through the first dungeon and I'm enjoying it so far, actually. Though there were some points where I was like, what am I doing? What? Ah? But you know, good on the designer for actually being able to stump me in like the first hour. And here we got the map. And as we can see, this dungeon is also fairly short. We've already explored out just over half of it, probably. And that's something that I do like, that I think I mentioned even in the intro video. All the dungeons are meant to be completed in that hour, and thus they are easy enough and short enough to the point where you can do so. In fact, honestly, aside from maybe the last 2, I think most of the dungeons in this game are around the same general difficulty. Sure, they throw more enemies at you and such because you're higher health and defenses, but honestly, it doesn't change too much. And I don't know whether or not I should detract points from the game for that, because I do like these dungeon designs. Some of them are decently well thought out in terms of the ideas they have in them. But at the same time, a lot of them are also extremely linear. Like they make some of the early not Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time dungeons look pathetic. No, complicated. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Mind you, I'm saying that, but I think my favorite dungeon designs in a Zelda game have always been Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. Particularly Majora's Mask, because you actually need to think with some things on those ones, whereas in Wind Waker, they start off easy and get kind of annoying towards the end. And by that, I more so mean the Earth and Wind Temples are a difficulty spike in of themselves. Screw the Wind Temple in that game. And Twilight Princess, I more so think of the latter half of the dungeon, starting with Arbiter's Grounds. I do like that the maps actually show you where the hidden rooms are in this game, though, because I don't think every Zelda game has done that. If there's a hidden room just off to the side, it might not show it. But I'm probably wrong about that because, honestly, in most Zelda games nowadays, I rarely look at the map because I've already played them too much. Sure, when Breath of the Wild comes out whenever, I'll probably be looking at the maps a lot more just because, good lord, that game's going to be so huge. But, yeah. Oh, that's the thing I suppose I could talk about. The Nintendo Switch had its trailer reveal a few weeks back. And it has me intrigued. I'm not convinced yet, but I'm leaning towards getting it already. But mind you, I kind of have to because I'm that Nintendo guy. So, And what's our dungeon item this time around? The Boomerang! Automatically in level 2, weirdly enough. It can stun and confuse enemies. It can also grab items for you. The Boomerang actually gets more use than I think it did in the original Link to the Past in this game, but it's still not as much as it would in some of the later 3D games. Like, you need to use it to grab keys this time around, and oh, hi, Bombos! That's a thing that can happen, too. I don't think it's happened so far. At specific times in the clock, Ether, Bombos, and, shit, what was the third one? Quake? Whatever the final one was, will happen. And it does kill every enemy on screen, so you're good there. I do kind of wish, though, that with the clock system, they would have a few more detrimental effects. Because for the most part, in the BS Zelda titles, whenever they had those little things happen, they were mostly beneficial to you. The only ones I can think of that aren't are in the original BS Zelda, where those huge enemy waves can happen, like Dark Nuts in the overworld, and the Great Fairies disappearing. In this, I can only think of rain, which causes your bombs to fizzle out. So, And that's a required boomerang use. Actually, that's one thing I've noticed over the years. In the Zelda series, one thing that kind of holds the 2D games apart from the 3D, aside from the obvious graphical styles and such, is that in the more 2D-based Zeldas like this, by the way, this guy will allow you to upgrade more, carry more bombs, 50 rupees, there you go, and now you have 20. The 2D Zelda games tend to have you using your items, even from prior dungeons, a lot more often than the 3D games. Whereas in the 3D games, for the most part, if I recall, Wind Waker and Skyward Sword even, I believe, did something different than this. When you get your dungeon item, you're mostly only using it for that dungeon, not so much further ones, because it's built around the item you get. And I like that, but I also don't, because I like being able to use whatever I can to solve a situation. That's actually one thing I really like about, say, like Symphony of the Night and such. I can take whatever approach I want to a certain situation and generally come out at the same end. Being forced to use items, though, I can understand because that will also allow you to not get too ridiculously overpowered or get certain items too early. But really, that's just a whole vein of game design I don't feel like talking about because that is really up to interpretation. Speaking of game design, I believe Owlboy finally just came out, so that's what, 9 years in development finally and done? Gonna need to pick that up at some point, but my priorities at the moment are on Sun and Moon and Final Fantasy 15. Especially 15, because I've been waiting on that since the first Versus 13 trailer. Almost 10 years ago. Actually, no, I think over 10 years ago now. Wasn't it? A long time, either way. I do really wish they brought this changing Pegasus Boots direction in more games. Because that just makes it so much easier to move around. It's not changing too much. It's basically just annihilating that, like, not even a second where you're standing around charging up your Pegasus Boots again. But that second can build up. Like I said before, I think the only games that brought something back similar to that were Skyward Sword with the sprint button and the Pegasus Seeds in the Oracle games. Because I actually think I forgot to mention that one earlier. Either way, Boss Dungeon 2 is no Moldorms. Thankfully, though, I don't think you can actually fall down to that pit and reset his health bar this time around. I think that's just a pit where you take damage. And even then, I think this room is actually bigger than the original platform was because there's no corners. Really? Moldorm's pathetic in this game. And it's catharsis to kill him. Cathartic. That's the proper grammar. There we go. And stone tablet number 2. You got a strange stone tablet. Does the stone tablet have some kind of significance? I don't know. Also, the rain has stopped. It's now foggy. For another, like, 20 seconds, because this will stop at, like, 33. And it's at this point, really, you can do whatever you want, because we've finished all the story progress we need to make, and we even can make in this 3-day, week cycle. So now we just need to go around and collect stuff, really. So let's actually start off immediately by heading right back to the rental shop, because to the left of it, there's a bombable wall. You could have entered this earlier, but what you're going to do in here, while possible without the boomerang, is a lot harder, because you need to use the boomerang to hit that. I've heard it's possible that if you position yourself just right, you could throw a bomb and have the residue explosion hit it to get Priest of Heart number 5 for week 1. But I have issues doing it. And with that, we're actually going to head back to the witch's house, because there's actually a couple things we can do in this general area. First off, now that we have the flippers, we can head down here and head into this waterfall, which I believe there was something in the original Link to the Past, to find a fairies fountain with another bombable wall. That's actually one thing I like about this game that I don't even think the original Link to the Past did that well, is that there's a lot more fairy fountains all over the place if you need a quick restock of health. But in it is also the next piece of heart. And you might see something down there. The seer is, well, seeing something. At this point, at the 34th minute of the hour, a heart piece spawns in front of Dungeon 2. I don't know how you're supposed to figure that out, or without looking down there, obviously. But that's just kind of a stupid one. It's the only heart piece in all 4 weeks that does that, so I find that really stupid. And we have 7 out of the 8 pieces of heart, so you might be wondering, where's the last one? The last piece of heart can only be found through the shovel. It's marked on the map. Once you get it, it can be in one of 3 possible locations. So really, you can just dig around the X and hope to find it. They're usually fairly easy to find. And with that, that's all 8 heart pieces in week 1. Also, one thing I should mention, right now you basically have nothing else to do. You're just going to dig around and hopefully get some rupees. But also one thing I should mention, the moment I think you enter a dungeon, it gets marked on your ocarina, for instance, for quick transport. So you can easily go in between dungeons very easily. But really at this point, you're just going to be digging around and doing some stuff. Until around 40. Apparently, Zelda has disappeared. This is leading into one of the game's kind of side quests, because there are optional side quests that don't really do anything for you aside from add to your end of week score, because at the end of every week you are tallied up on various things, and you can send in your score to Nintendo to get prizes that are kind of unknown at the moment, because there's all sorts of Zelda themed merchandise that could have come from a contest like that, but we don't exactly know. And at 43, Zelda's being pursued by monsters. Where? Well, as I shall quickly head on over to, generally by the area where we first appeared. You don't need to do this. I do recommend it because it just makes you feel like a better person, but you don't need to do it. She's just down here south of where the first temple was, being attacked by some Octoroks. If you're actually in this area before this event takes place, you'll see her run in. Just take care of the Octoroks and you're fine. Thank you for saving me. Those monsters had chased me all the way into this place. My name is Zelda. I live in Hyrule Castle to the west of here. Please take me to the castle? Sure. And we get to hear this song again. Yay. But now we just have a minor escort mission. She doesn't do anything, really. I woke up early this morning, and when I looked outside, a ray of light fell from the sky. I felt that something might come looking for that light. Finding you collapsed. That was an oddly structured sentence there, Zelda. Did you get hit on the head by the Octoroks? I think she got hit on the head by the Octoroks. At that time, I wondered why you had appeared there, but now I understand why you were brought here. You are the hero of light. I'm the what now? You know, you gotta feel bad for these kids whenever you're playing a BS game. They're kind of just thrown in. You remind me of someone else I know. They saved me in the past. No, not just me, but the Kingdom of Hyrule. He was small, but a true hero. Actually, that's a good question. How tall is Link throughout all his incarnations? I could buy at least 5'7" in some of them, but, I was able to return safely thanks to your help. Princess, thank goodness you're safe. Where have you been? I'm sorry to have worried you, but I was being chased by monsters. This is the friend who saved me. What? You're the one that saved the princess, but how could such a small child defeat such dangerous monsters? I'm sorry. A person's age doesn't matter. Oh dear, I still have to thank you. Please accept the small rupee reward. 300 rupees. Yay, I'm now slightly richer. And you also get 10,000 points added to your end of the week score. However, since it's past the 44th minute of the hour, we can head back towards Dungeon 2 to find this guy. He's a mole. He'll be a bit of a running character in this game. Moly ho, holy moly ho. You're in luck you found me. I'll tell you where to find some great treasure. Listen carefully. Go to the west of the magic shop to find something good. Hurry. The mole can show up in a variety of locations, but his hint always leads to the same spot. The mole here in week 1 can appear at the Waterfall of Wishing, the right end of the bridge on the way to the Witch's Hut, left of Dungeon 1's entrance, the northern end of the stone bridge at the south, or to the right of the house at the river selling medicine. And I'm not sure if there's actually a time limit on getting over to him, other than the obvious get there before the 56th minute ends, because then the game ends. But in each of the hole he digs, there's a lot of rupees. I think this one has 600. It's just an optional side quest, but it's there. And getting more money is always good, obviously. And that's really it in terms of end of notable things that happen on the timer, aside from at the 45th minute, that mini game that I talked about at the end of the last part is now available to us, so we're actually going to go over and do that right now. But really, the only thing of note that happens in the rest of the timer for week 1 is that at the 48th minute, you get 20 heart containers. Relieve stress at the pot smashing store. Just 50 rupees for 15 seconds to smash all the pots you want. But you shouldn't get greedy and keep smashing the shiny pots for rupees. Want you to give it a try? Sure. So now we have basically the magic hammer from Link to the Past, and we can smash the pots for rupees. They escalate in value. I think it goes green, blue, red, something. It's not the best way to get money, but if you're good at timing, it's actually still worth doing a few times. You just need to make sure you can break even. At this point, really, though, that is the end of all the things you can really do at the end of this week. We have all the heart containers we can get. We've done everything that's worth showing off. If you're playing along, you've seen all the events, so let's just go talk to Agina. Welcome back. You've journeyed enough today. If you believe, oh shit. How are you doing, young one? Do you tire? Did I interrupt myself? It looks as though you were able to help Princess Zelda. It seems that you're striving to be a hero in bravery as well. Thank you for rescuing me. You're the only one left that can help us. Though your task is difficult, please, don't give up. Okay. Why did I interrupt myself, though? Princess, it looks as if the youth has found some stone tablets. Mysterious characters are written here. However, I believe that more of these tablets are hidden around Hyrule. How they never got mentioned in the previous game, I don't know. Is that so? Is it possible that if one travels to my brother's house in Kakariko Village, some clues will be found? Princess, I think you should try accompanying the youth. Oh? Sorry, but I should not leave the castle again. Please, return home safely. Ah, this is the house of my brother. No. Of Sahasralha, the elder of Hyrule. It has grown late. We shall rest here. And that leads into week 2. There's still a long way to go. Don't forget to migrate your SRAM file. Translator's note, original text was, don't forget to tune in for our next broadcast. That leads into how you keep your save data from one week to the next. I'll get into that at the beginning of the next part, though. And here's our results. Your overall stats are shown so far, including your total score, but on the next screen, results 2, it's shown how everything is calculated. I think you have to press the B button to get over there, though. Your total score is your total rupees times 10, your amount of hits taken times 100, and your deaths times 10,000. Really, if you're playing this, you'll probably not die, so you should end up with a fairly high score. Yet again, these were just sent into Nintendo for contest wins and such. Nothing of real note. But with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching. And in part 3, we're beginning week 2 and seeing where we can go from Kakariko Village. See you guys then.